Meeting order. Everyone please stand to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Cavalier,
Here.
Kressel, Platt,
Here.
Menard,
Here.
Hibma,
Here.
Jurdy,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Briggs.
Here.
Okay, this brings us to the open forum. If anyone would like to address council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Hello again.
Hello, thank you, Mayor. Michelle Christopherson, 723 Sunset Avenue. Before you on your desk, prior to the meeting this evening, I left a calendar and an invitation. On November 15th, the Golden Eagle Athletics will be celebrating Crookston and the community of Crookston. So if you could mark your calendar for November 15th, we will be having a celebration and would love to have all of you join us. If you cannot join us for both of the basketball games, men and women, we would love to see you perhaps at the 6 o'clock game when the Golden Eagle men's basketball team takes the court. There are other items in that invitation for dates to which we would love to have you join us. Next week kicks off homecoming, University of Minnesota Golden Eagle and UMN Crookston. So if you could, please join us during the week. And on Saturday, the 21st, there will be a parking lot gathering at the Crookston Sports Center. Would love to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none from the chambers. Chad, anybody on the phone bridge, please?
No one on the phone bridge this evening, Your Honor. I will close it.
Thank you.
Agent logged off.
This brings us to the approved agenda. Does anyone wish to add or remove anything from tonight's agenda?
I would, I'd like to remove 8.05. I'm concerned. I thought the initial conversation was, last time we met, was that we were not going to re-engage Brady Marks based on our previous experience with them. So I'd like to have a further conversation about that.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
So we need to make a motion,
Oops,
Your Honor.
sorry. Need a motion?
So move.
Thank you. Don, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Now we're gonna have roll call.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
I'll go with Delane and Clayton. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. No public hearings. This brings us to the regular agenda. Ashley, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution regarding the time change for the Truth and Taxation meeting and changing the regular city council meeting on December 11th, 2023.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve
So
this?
move, Your Honor. I'll second. So move.
Quick? Got Don and Tim. Thank you. Discussion?
What this involves is our original setting of the Truth and Taxation meeting was set at an inappropriate time. We had intended to set it for the convenience of the council. The state statute requires that the Truth and Taxation meeting be held at 6 o'clock. So this resolution changes it to 6 o'clock with a special council meeting at 7.
Thank you.
Corky, just to follow the Truth and Taxation meeting, so it's not specifically set at 7, it's just to follow the Truth and Taxation.
Our hope is at 7, but Never know.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Cavalier,
Aye.
Clat,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item 8.02 is a resolution regarding a contract agreement with the State of Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development, DEED, concerning the Ag Innovation Campus Road Construction Project.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Tim and Clayton?
Tim and Clayton, thank you. Discussion, Corky,
This
please.
is the contract with Deed for the $450,000 plus for the Ag Innovation Campus. This is the grant that they have given us to complete that road, and they've set the terms and conditions, and if we want the money, this is what we do.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Is there any additional cost to the city then?
No, no.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Clat,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.03 is a resolution regarding the authorization to execute the Minnesota Department of Transportation grant agreement for the airport improvement related to the T-hangars.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
move, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. Discussion?
This is regarding the new construction at the airport for the T-hangars. The amount of money that the city will be required to pay is actually less than we thought originally, and that's the agreement that we have for this with the state MnDOT.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Clat,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.04 is a resolution regarding the authorization of contract with Ehlers Association Inc. to provide professional municipal investment advice and advisory services to the city of Crookston.
Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Henry. Discussion?
What this is a resolution to approve essentially two contracts. Ehlers has worked with us and provides professional investment services, and this contract sets the agreement and the fees for that. They take a percentage of the investment proceeds. The second one is advisory services. They provide general advisory services to the city of Crookston with respect to such things as council resolutions. Also, they can provide services regarding assessments and other general services for which they will charge an hourly rate.
Thank you. Further discussion?
When are we gonna start talking with Ehlers about like bonding rating and then the municipal finance plan?
Once we get the assessment roles established, one. Secondly, when we get the comprehensive plan by the engineering, we will be talking with them about the amount of bonding which would be available to us, the interest rate to establish it permanently. Prior to that, we'll be talking to them about what they need from us to establish our bonding rate.
Because that can happen now that the audit's completed.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Corky, can they also help us perform specific accounting services that we would have looked to Brady Martz to do?
They could do that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they can do that, sure.
And can I just ask, as far as the advisory services, I know we had talked about best practices as far as like line items in our budgets. Is that something that you guys are relying on them to kind of clearly define that? I know that's been part of the conversation we've been having as far as like moving line items right now, and I just want to make sure we're doing that with best practices in mind.
I don't know if they can do best practices, but certainly we are looking at best practices. We are relying on our department heads, their experience, their knowledge, to establish what line items can be moved, where they should be moved within their departmental budget, and also with our finance director, where they are appropriately moved and placed. Not specifically with Ellers. We'll have to see if they even provide that service. I
They
don't
do.
know.
They do.
Well.
I just want to
okay.
make sure that we're not getting ourselves into another bind and that we're clearly cleaning up whatever 10 years worth of finance concerns we've had. And I just want to make sure we're doing that.
Well, that's
We have the
act-
opportunity to do that right now, so.
That's actually a part of the next 8.05 that you've removed.
Yep. I would like to see us utilize a different service.
Also, regarding with Ellers, as far as the bonding rating, we almost, to get the bonding rating and the interest, we'd all have to have assessment too on our streets and infrastructure.
Yeah, Ellers will provide us what we need to provide them to know what they evaluate.
Okay,
Yep.
So question on our investments that we have, we
Yeah.
get interest on that. How does that interest, is it paid out to us in the city each quarter, or how does that happen?
It's actually sits in a revolving fund, and we can draw on that if we wish or notify them, but it rolls into a sweep account for which we get
So
interest.
is that, for lack of a better term, considered unrestricted resources that we could possibly use?
Yes. Had to think about that. I mean, it rolls into a sweep account, but it's not designated for anything, so it can be used, yes.
So how, I don't know if, I didn't ask you this earlier, so I don't expect you to have the answer. Is that sum per year substantial?
Well, I don't know what your definition is, but in my definition, it would be substantial, yes.
So I'm just talking out loud here. Is that a possible source we could use to roll into our budget to lessen our levy?
Certainly.
Whenever we're gonna be made aware of what our unrestricted number is, could we have that number as well at that?
The amount of interest that we've made to date, let's say for this year?
Yes,
Certainly.
And obviously, that's going to vary as all investments would.
right.
But is what Eller's doing is just managing our investments? When you say professional investment services, are they managing our investments?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So, yeah. So they're managing them. So that would make
Right,
sense.
but the interest in, that we make on a per year, we could, I'm just thinking that maybe it's possible, to have that as a source to maybe possibly bring down this levy a little bit.
The interest that is made on the earnings from our investments is an asset of the city.
Right.
Absolutely. How it's categorized at any one point, what it's used for is completely at the discretion of the city.
So Corky, those assets and those revenue increases from our investments, we'll see those laid out in the audit?
They won't be in the audit other than a big category, but we have specific investment sheets that come to our finance director
Okay,
on a
and-
monthly basis, showing what's happened and if we need advice or if they believe there's advice that they should give us, they do.
So on that, now the audit is done, when do you expect we'll know what the number is for the unrestricted?
I can't give you a specific date because we have to line up with our auditor.
Okay.
A time to come and present, and that's when you get your actual audit book.
Okay.
And the auditor will be here to present and answer any questions you have about that. We have to line that up with him according to.
Also, the auditors will have that specifically for us then?
Yes.
Generally, they present, once the audit's done, they'll come in and present the findings and then like suggested going forward.
So at that time, maybe we already have it, do we have last year's number? Because what I want to do is, what I want to do, I want to compare if the number grew or shrunk from the previous year.
Are you looking for surplus, is what you're asking for?
Yes, well, not
Yeah.
just a surplus, but I mean, if we grew substantially from last year, that could also be and then if the council decides that where we want our unrestricted number to be, and we just kind of go from there. And I'm looking for any possible thing we can get to get this
Absolutely.
69% down as much as we can. And use that as maybe a best practice from year to year.
I think as far as the financial services too, I'd really like Ellers to tell us if they have like a best suggested number for what that reserve should be. I know we've heard so many things from 40 to 60%, but just kind of seeing like what best practices for cities of our size would be, and making sure that we're at that, or that we're making sure that we're not above that.
Well, one of the things I think, if I heard correctly in that meeting, was the healthier they are, the lower our interest is when we go to bond. So I mean.
Yeah, I think that all should be taken into account, right?
Right,
Well, that's why we're hiring Ellers.
right.
Yeah.
Or that's the motion.
Yeah.
So yes, and I believe you're correct, Councilman, that at the meeting, they said the healthier reserve, the lower your bond interest rate that you would pay is a correct reflection of what they said.
Right, okay.
But these contracts are not covering the municipal finance plan, correct? Or the bonding rate?
What?
The contracts for these two contracts?
I don't know if they have a separate contract for that. This provides us general services, and it may be, very well be, that the bonding service is contained within this, and they charge their hourly rate. I don't know if they charge a different rate for bonding services.
But we could find out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make sure there isn't any barriers to us when we get to that point, being able to quickly.
There's no
start
barriers
these.
for Ellers.
I'm talking about, do we need to sign another contract? That's what I'm referring to. That's
I
why I was
don't know.
asking why this was covering or encompassing or not.
This is encompassing general services, I suspect, but don't know that we are covered for bonding under this.
Or
I
the
believe
municipal
we would
finance
be.
plan.
What was
Or
that?
the municipal finance plan. Could you find out for us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Cavalier,
Aye.
Clat,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.05 has been removed from discussion. That was a resolution regarding the engagement of the Brady Marts to perform specific accounting services. So then, can we have discussion on it?
Sure.
So,
Okay,
it's been a second, there was a motion and a second on it, so.
so here's what this is. Once our audit is done, and it is done and it is filed, as I indicated to you, we will receive a final audit report. We suspect that there will be audit findings. What that means is Miller McDonald, who is our auditor, will make recommendations to us about where the city needs to enhance its control of its finances in how they're recorded, how they're observed, and how they're dealt with. Miller McDonald cannot provide those services as to policies and procedures. Our finance director, Audrey, and I have sat down and talked about how are we going to do that? How are we going to implement policies? We discussed it, and we did in fact speak with Tracy Brueggemann, who audited last year for Brady Marts. She indicated that their firm, Brady Marts, could provide policies, best practices, and procedures to address any findings that we have from Miller McDonald. They have accountants on staff to do that. They have technicians on staff to do that. So this resolution would engage Brady Marts to provide to us policies and procedures and best practices to meet whatever audit findings we get. They could help us monitor those. They could help us make sure that they are in place and advise us along the way. I can't tell you what findings we have, but we know we'll have them. And Brady Martz has familiarity with the city, has familiarity with what has happened in the past, and they are local. They can provide us that service locally. They are also would be engaged to help us for a temporary basis to do bank reconciliations. Our bank reconciliations have not occurred for a number of months, and they are quite detailed, and they could enter our books and find out and bring us up to date on those. So that is what the resolution will do. It is not to audit us. It is to help us establish those policies, procedures, and recommend, based upon their knowledge, best practices.
I don't think that's ever been the question, and I think when we talked about this, when we were talking about budgets, the concern was that we had a lot of questions coming out of the audit last year, and so I believe we even talked about, were you guys gonna try to engage other particular organizations besides Brady Marks because of that? And I'm just surprised to then see their name here, and I was just curious as to what the thought process was behind that. And you know, I'm not the only one here, so I didn't know if I was the only one that had that concern. I just feel like we've already had some issues, and then we're gonna go back and re-engage them, and maybe in a different form, but
Right,
still.
I expressed the concerns too back when they were doing our normal audit. But at this point in time, I'm just wondering, since they have some familiarity with us, you know, just doing this, they're not doing our normal full audit.
I know they're not doing our audit
Right.
at all, they're just recommending best practices.
Right.
But if we are already having concerns about the suggestions and
Yeah.
what things possibly fell through the cracks in the past, I would be concerned with them giving us best practices or other advice
Yeah,
at this
I mean,
point.
I agree with your statement. I'm just not sure. I mean, the pluses that they have going for them, they're familiar with us a little bit, so I don't know.
Well, I would think that if they were going to advise us on best practices, and yet the practices that they provided for us in the past led us into the deep kimchi that we found ourselves in, that we would be questioning whether or not they would be an asset in this process.
And would we go to them to ask us to get out of that?
Yeah, that's,
If,
That's a
those
fair
are my
point.
concerns and my questions, and I just have a hard time feeling confident in them if we've already had these concerns, and then we're having them go back and advise us when they should have been advising us last year.
I think what you're failing to consider is they did the audit. That is different than this.
We understand that.
Well, I don't know that you do.
Does Brady Martz or this person that we would be working with there,
Yes.
do they have experience in this type of thing in other cities in the area, and have we talked to those cities about their experience?
We have not talked to the cities, but they do have other cities, yes. And in fact, the auditor who audited last year was our first audit with us. It is not the same person who audited for years and years. She is very aware of some of the issues and is more than, she would be the person advising the city on how to best address any findings that we get this year.
And if I'm understanding correctly from what you may have said in the past, and I could be very wrong and misremembering, I think you had said this person that did the audit last time had found issues and gave recommendations, and for whatever reason, we ignored or did not take action on those.
Correct.
So she
she's
did
a-
see this, raised the red flag, and we did nothing.
For the internal controls issues that we fully expect we'll get this year in the findings, yes. And other issues, I can't tell you in the final audit if they'll be identical to the previous years. But as you know, we've had some issues in the finance department. I believe this auditor would, not auditor, this accountant would be very aware of those issues and best able to advise us how to address those and correct them.
Did we reach out to anyone else besides Brady Marks?
We did not.
Okay, because I thought that was part of the conversation we had last time.
I don't think that was, but I'm not saying.
I don't think-
they-
We can go back to the video, but that was part of the conversation that we did have, because we asked, you know, you said, this will be a placeholder, this isn't necessarily gonna have to be Brady Marks, but just know this is something that we're gonna be putting forward when we were talking about the budget. because that was a question that we had initially brought up. So I was just curious as to why we didn't try engaging other offices besides this.
I'll tell you, we are very comfortable with the accountant that we talked with. Acutely aware of the situation we had, very articulate, and more than willing to help us.
So,
And
so
professional.
Audrey is strongly in favor of,
Audrey was the one who in fact suggested it, yes. She's familiar with them, they're local, and after discussion and a meeting with the accountant,
I mean, part of me, you know, has to rely on Audrey's professional opinion here, and I get it. I have the same concerns you're bringing up, Christie, that we had before, but then I'm starting to think, you know, is some of that, do we have to take responsibility on maybe them pointing out some of the things and we just didn't do them? So some of that stuff is on us, not Brady Martz.
Yeah, but I don't think, it's not just this last year, right?
Right.
It's been the last 10 plus years. I guess
Well, I think last year's the one where we had the last audit they did is I think where we had the major concerns.
but then we also had enough concerns that we ended up going with a different accounting agency
Right.
again. So then why did we move accounting agencies if we were so comfortable with this person that did it last year? Like, these are questions I would
Wasn't,
have and would
wasn't the
like.
person that did it
That
last
came
year?
from
was the
our
person that did it.
finance director to go with a different
Yeah,
auditing
but why,
firm.
I'm asking if we
Because
should.
she raised concerns and he didn't like them, and so he went to someone else and hoped they wouldn't raise the concerns.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also
So I guess,
concern.
yeah, I mean, my concern was going with the same person, but I mean, if we're feeling like I don't wanna place blame places, but if we're feeling like the fault is more on us that flags were raised, we just ignored them, then I don't know if we can blame that person. If we feel comfortable with this accountant, but like for whatever reason they leave and we don't feel comfortable with the newer one or whatever, I mean, can we?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yes, very accurately, the accountant found some things last year and brought them to our attention.
Yeah.
So,
The-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
So the finance director recommended a new auditing firm.
Wasn't it also due to the fact of the delay in the audit? I guess that wasn't ever expressed to us specifically that it was,
You mean last year?
yeah, it took a really long time, there was a delay.
I don't have that recollection.
I thought
It took a really
that
long
now
time
that
for
you,
them to get what we needed to get.
now that you mentioned something, I think there was something that Brady March wasn't getting
Yep,
done.
because they had to do double time something and pull it over to Thief River.
Yeah, I,
So there was
can't put
more
my
than just
finger
like
on it,
not
but-
liking the findings.
yeah,
That was the year before,
Year
wasn't
before.
it?
yeah,
Year before, yeah.
I think it was the year before.
I think it was too.
Yeah, it was.
Because the person with Brady March that basically did our books
It was Kim,
retired.
wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was the year after that, I thought.
So then Brady March, basically, you know, we had new personnel coming in to do our books from Brady March. And that's when I think the findings and,
So, one other question I had, so does the state, can we get the state to do audits for us every once in a while? I mean, is it like, I think the counties have a state audit done every so often. I mean, is it a best practice to have the state come in and do an audit every 4 years? Or is there such a thing?
I have no idea.
Never heard of that before.
I know recently there's been legislation that allowed counties to hire private auditors. Counties used to be audited by the state auditor.
Right.
And they said, we don't want to do this, so they allowed private firms to do county audits. I don't know if the state auditor does that. I don't know if it's best practice. I mean, those are,
Could we just find out by
yeah.
I mean, not that it needs to get done next audit or the next two audits, but it'd be nice to know if they provide that service. And if it's something we should do every so often.
Well, as you know, we've been in contact with the state auditor quite a bit recently.
Yeah.
We know her number and we'll call her tomorrow.
Okay,
Yeah.
further discussion. So I got a motion and a second on this.
And we've already had roll call, so this is just discussion. Unless they would like to.
Make a motion.
Since it was pulled out, does it need to have another motion and a?
So it would, yeah, the
Yes.
council members would have to redact their.
So would you?
I guess I'll make I mean, since Audrey's strongly in favor, I have to, part of me has to go with what her professional recommendation is. And I'll make a motion that we move forward with
I'll
O'Grady
second that.
Marts to
I'll
perform
second
the
that motion.
specific accounting services.
Doing-
I'll second that motion, Your Honor.
So we got Delane and Dawn. Okay,
To move forward with a resolution regarding the engagement of Brady Marts to perform specific accounting services.
okay, can I have roll call, please?
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard,
Hey,
Hibma,
Nay.
Jurdy,
Nay.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs. So it fails due to, we have to have 5 council members to pass a resolution, so it fails.
Okay. Moving on.
Item 8.06 is a resolution to the Addendum 4 to Special Operations Group Joint Powers Agreement.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Delane. Discussion. Corky, please.
this is just adding one party to the, we call it the SPOG, or the Special Operations Group. It's a different county added to what's already in existence. I've talked with Chief about this. He highly recommends this. It's just bringing another group.
Thank you. Further discussion. Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Briggs.
Motion carries.
Item 8.07 is a resolution regarding the special assessments and trunk area policies and procedures for the public improvement and maintenance cost in the city of Crookston.
Do you have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Delane. Is there a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second by Don. Discussion.
This is a new special assessment policy consistent with what we have talked about in the city. It is one that I have talked with Ellers about. It is a boilerplate that they have sent forward. We've made changes specific to our city. It's been reviewed by our Public Works Director. It's been reviewed by our Utilities Supervisor. I have reviewed it, and we have all recommended it be approved.
So it is of your belief, Corky, that this resolution regarding special assessment policies is favorable for housing development and for business development?
Yes, in fact, one of the discussions we had, the template or the boilerplate that came from Ellers recommended 100% assessment for new construction. We talked about that for department heads, and we changed that to 50% to help that. I do believe it would be at worst neutral, and I believe it would be advisable for development.
For the sake of like trying to get new housing, I mean, is there other surrounding areas to us that are doing something that's of a less percentage? I'm just wondering how we make ourselves more attractive to individuals coming in and doing new construction. You know, I mean, new construction is so flippin' expensive these days, you know. I'm just wondering if this sets us up in a good way or gives us that competitive edge if we are really trying to encourage more people to build. I don't know if you have any thoughts or if any Brandon or Carrie or anybody has any thoughts on that. If what you've seen in surrounding areas as far as those assessments.
Carry here.
it was kind of, when I was looking around, it was kind of all over the place on street assessments. It kind of looks like a lot of cities use the 100% assessment as a base, and then if they see a development that they want to assist financially, they pass it through council to have an adjusted assessment rate, so.
Like a case by case.
Yeah, I didn't think, when me and Corky and Chuck were talking, if you put 100% assessment on, the city, in my opinion, becomes the developer, because nobody's gonna develop privately. So that's why we discussed, does the city wanna be the developer? I didn't think we wanted to be the developer. And then we kind of just settled on 50%. We're asking reconstructions to take 30% assessment. So, I know life's not fair, but I'm trying to be somewhat consistent and fair to everybody. So that's why we came up with what we came up with. And it specifically says in the assessment policy that council can make exceptions for any improvements you guys see fit. So, if there's somebody that comes to us and says they want to develop 50 lots and they want to see what the city will do for them, you guys can make any exception to this you want, so.
Sure, just want to make sure we have that flexibility.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And one
Randy.
of the things also, in order to be able to bond, you gotta assess at least 20%.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to defer. I wasn't part of those conversations on the development part of that, so I don't have record of that.
Do you have any, like, what you've seen in other areas, or?
I think with Brandon, it's all over the boards. Is that gonna be easy to pull developers in at a higher rate? It's less, but if you can make exceptions, that's there. But when somebody comes to look at us, if we say this is our policy, they're gonna say it's a 50%. They're not gonna think about coming in to ask you for that. So that would be up to you guys on that, but that would be all I would have to say on it.
You?
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Cavalier,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard,
Aye.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Fisher,
I,
Briggs.
Okay, a motion carries. All right, reports. Corky, please.
Well, as you might imagine, we've been busy with department heads this week, in the last 2 weeks, talking about how we may reduce expenditures, and I've met so far with the IT, I've met with the police department, and we've made some progress there, and we have been able to reduce, I think, potential expenditures so that at this point, and roughly speaking, we might be at about 42%, not 65, and it's 65.09,
Okay.
not 69.
Yep, sorry.
And we're continuing with those discussions on an ongoing basis, and I think we'll make good headway with that. Other than that, just a lot of people coming in to talk about various issues in the city, and it's hard to summarize them all, but at least 3 hours a day, I would say on average, talking with citizens on the phone or in person, or meeting with department heads to address their issues. But it's a busy week, and rest assured, we are talking about expenditure reductions.
Can I ask, I initially thought we were gonna start immediately talking about the reductions in budgets, and that, like the last meeting and this meeting, we haven't touched on that. And I'm just concerned that we're gonna get to a point at the end where I thought we were gonna be a little bit more thorough on this conversation. I was just wondering, like, when we expect to start to have those conversations.
Well, those are the conversations that are going on with department heads.
Right,
They
but
are
I
making
thought that was the
those-
thought here when we
Excuse me?
talked about it.
And we will bring those to you when we've gotten down to a point of, let's say, 30%. But those are department head decisions. I rely on my department heads when I meet with them, and they would say, this is, as you know, 3 tiers. This is a need, this is what we like, and this is what we can put off. So they are doing that line by line within their departments.
Is there a way that obviously you guys need time to go through and do that, but enough time before the December 11th meeting where we could go through, because you guys might cut and think this is where we want to be, and the city might be like, we would like that to be added back in.
Well, that's an interesting question. I mean, how detailed do you want to be? Do you want to be micromanaging, or do you want?
So, I mean, you bring up a good point. I've been thinking about that a lot, and to Morgan's point, and I made the point here a while ago. I mean, we spend a lot of time going through the budgets line by line, pretty much. And then when you guys have to get down to a certain point, there's not any discussion on what gets taken out.
Right.
And whether we agree with it or not. It's just like, now all of a sudden that's micromanaging. So I mean, I get that, we got good department heads, but I mean, as us in the city, listen, I don't want the budget process to go on any longer than it should. But I think if there's a way that we could summarize to a point of what actually got taken out, especially if it's some big ticket items, and then is there a plan to get it put on next year's budget so we don't just forget about it?
Yeah, I think my bigger concern is, I know there's specifically this year a lot of new initiatives, and I'm under the understanding a lot of those will go through, but I would be fairly disappointed if I find out at the end that there's something that I was really championing or feel that was really important for us to go forward as a city was taken out because they needed to come under a certain percentage.
Right.
And I think that's where the conversation is not micromanaging, but it's about what are these initiatives that are like our non-negotiables that we feel are really important for these particular departments to push forward outside of what they've already done, right?
Have we come up with a list of non-negotiables that we want?
I was just
'Cause
gonna say-
that's the thing, like, we're saying, well, there's things we want to keep no matter what, but we haven't said anything about that yet.
I think that's two tiers. One, what are absolutely council non-negotiables? And two, where do you want to be? We're kind of shooting at a moving target in terms of, do you want to be at a 30% levy? Do you want to be at a 12% levy? Those are things that we are acting on within the department heads and the department discussions where they have determined, I believe consistently with what you have said, well, this is a need. I got to have this. That's not out. This is one I'd like to have. We've done that with IT. We've done that with law enforcement. So if you have a sense or you want to make a...
Well, I mean, is it...
But do you understand what I'm talking about?
I do understand what you're saying, but it's hard for me to sit here right now at this point and I mean, yeah, I have some things and that I want to make sure goes through. One of them being the marketing person and that is, for me, I'm very strong. But if there is a summary, say, hey, we cut this is something that we decided to put off. I mean, just to go through that briefly, I think would be, I mean, maybe there's something in there that say, well, hold on, we need that. Even if it increases our levy by X amount, we still want to have that.
Because I understand where your frustration is. Like, we haven't given you a number, right? And so you guys are just trying to figure it out, and you're putting in a ton of hard work for that. And we thank you for that. But I think also the reason we didn't give you a number is because we're giving you guys the ability to come back to us and say, like, this is what we think is best for the city and isn't just a need, but a way to like progress and move the city forward. And so that's what, I'm not saying I want to go through and be like, you need to take this out. Right. I just want to know what you guys think should be taken out, because it might be something that we're like, yep, it's going to your point. It might increase the levy some, but we see that like there is the reason to move the city forward, and this will be best for the city if we have it.
I mean, we have the line item budgets. We have their wish list. Has anybody made a list of saying this is non-negotiable for me to be taken out? Has any one of us sat there and been like, this is
I don't think so, because
non-negotiable?
there hasn't been a process.
Well, I mean, I feel like if we're saying, well, you're doing this behind closed doors, they have to know what we want to.
No, and I think that's fair. And if that's something that would help you, I'm happy to do that. And I think you're very fair on that, Henry.
I guess I have the trust in the department heads. I don't think it's our job to tell the department heads what
Why
to
isn't it?
cut.
We're the ones who advise them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying that I don't think between what they need, and their wish list, I mean, I get it, but we want to keep our employees safe if it's a piece of
Well,
equipment.
It's not a matter of being safe
But
or
I don't-
not safe, but I mean, it's a matter of, we approve, when they got done with their budgets, we approved what they put out. So, yep, I see that. So we all collectively approved everything that they came out with. So why do we not get a say in what gets taken out?
Because we haven't given a say yet. We haven't said what we
Yeah,
want.
and Henry, we got that. So I think that's definitely part of it. I think that's part of it. But what I think that the bigger conversation is, I don't think we're trying to micromanage and tell you, oh, no, you need to, something that you'd already taken out, I want you to put that back, which means that you now have to pick something else and take it out because of that. I don't think that's what we're saying.
Right.
I think that they know what ultimately they need at the end of the day in their tiered system, right? But if they think that, well, we can't do this communications marketing person because these are more of a priority for us, I think it is at the council level that we can say, you know what, this is something that we feel strongly about that you should have. And so maybe we have to make that decision that this is gonna put us up another levy point, right?
Right.
And I think that is the conversation that we're trying to have. It's not about not letting them do what they need to do. They're very capable. I have absolutely no problem with that. But I think there's things that maybe we've seen that we feel really would be in an imperative for us. And maybe they're feeling that they have to push off to next year because these are the other things they need.
'cause-
That is what we're, I think, trying to say
If
here.
if we don't have them conversations, when do we have it after the budget's done and say, hey, what happened to that marketing
Right.
person? Oh, we had to cut that because we had to get down to this number. Well,
Yeah, I don't think we should be finding out after approving the budget or the final levy
Right.
that something's not in there. And I think that's what it's coming down to. And so maybe if it is easier that we're like very clear about these are the things we'd really like to see as a priority outside of what they're doing, maybe that's the case. And maybe it's after they present their budgets to us again, and then we're like, hey, great, and what is the percentage points it's gonna go up if we wanna make sure that we get this particular thing in, or this initiative in? And I think that's where it comes down.
So Corky, have you met with all the department heads?
I have not met with all the department heads. Our meetings that we've had have been lengthy.
Okay.
With the ones we've had. So, no, I have not.
So I guess my question is, are we gonna have, 2, 3, kind of update on budgets before we go to truth and taxation?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And if it has to be that specific, do you want it all at once? Or do you want, when I've accomplished 2 or 3, come in and go, this is where we're at?
well, is it a possibility? I mean, I'm looking for big ticket items that are getting cut, that it's gonna make a, that's what I'm possibly looking for. Like the example that we use, like cutting the marketing position, stuff like that, if that's something, because that's gonna have a huge impact on me, I guess.
And I wonder if it's that they make their budgets and then we're able to see what those items that were taken out are, so we have just a better understanding of things that we could then say, let's talk more about us bumping this up another levy point because we think that this is really
Because
important.
obviously, it was put in there originally because they felt it as a need initially.
Right.
So then
They
if it
felt
gets
it was
taken,
a want.
or it was put in there. But then maybe I want to keep a list for next year and have it sitting here and say, when we discuss budgets next year, say, hey, this got taken out last year, so let's try to get that in there this year and see what we can do.
And I think that what I find it to be important for us to have them present their budgets first before us making those decisions about what our non-negotiables are, is because I don't want it to affect them in making the decisions that they need to make, right? So I don't want them to be like, oh, well, council said we have to have this, and now I need to decide what comes out of it in order to get us to a certain point, right? So I think that's where it would be nice to have the ability to make a more educated decision about, do we want to push up the levy based on these things outside of what our department heads have said, these are really what we need at the end of the day, right? And so I think that it would be more important for us to make those decisions after they've come to the conclusion of what they would like their budgets to look like versus us, because I feel that starts to impede on their decision-making, right?
Also,
I think
would
that's,
like
what-
to
I
make
think that's
sure-
what, I think that's what Corky has been trying to do, is to meet with the department heads and get these issues solved. I mean, then bring them to the council, that's our job.
Right, absolutely. I just want to make sure it's not on December 11th it's being brought to us.
Right.
It's not gonna
It's
be on
not gonna be,
December.
it's not gonna.
Well, I think
That's what I'm just
December
asking,
11th.
like, are we going to meet before that?
Well, and I thought the conversation initially when we were having this was that, we were talking about, well, how are we gonna keep on this conversation? Because we were gonna be more intentional about looking at these budgets again to make sure that we get to that place and that we feel good about those levies, right? And so my understanding was that these council meetings, since we only have so many going before the truth and taxation, is that we were already gonna have some of this information. And if that's not the case, that's fine. I was just hoping that we were just gonna have,
Because we came into this budget season, that's why we gave that number such a high number to begin with, because we don't know. Because it would almost be nice to say, okay, if we gotta get rid of it, if we get the levy down to this is what we have to get rid of. If we get our number down to 30, we have to get rid of this, and 25, this is the big ticket items we have to get down to. So then we can make a better educated decision on we're almost like randomly throwing out a number again after we're doing the work. It's like,
Right.
okay, because I don't know what you're putting in or taking out anymore, I'm just gonna say 30, because I don't know what does that mean,
right,
you know?
right.
Okay. I
One
think-
more point for the record. I want to make sure that the community is aware that in November, they're going to get a tax statement. That tax statement is going to indicate a 65.09 increase, okay? And there are going to be some people who are not paying attention to what's going on in these bi-weekly budget meetings and Ways and Means meetings that are going to have a stroke. Okay? So we have to get ahead of it. We have to make sure that we're putting the word out there that this is a one-time, temporary budget strategy, and that going forward, things are going to be significantly reduced.
Well, I'm hoping that we're having these conversations not now, but before now.
Well, yeah, and that's why I was asking questions about some of the revenue streams we can get to bring down the levy as well, not just cutting budgets. What are some things we can bring in, like the interest possibly, and the excess reserve that we maybe made over last year. I mean, maybe we don't have to get to the point this year of saying what we want our unrestricted reserve to be, but maybe if we can get to the point, say, okay, this year it was X, this year it's Y, it's an increase, so that, just to get us back to where we were the year before, we can take all of that and put towards the budget, and then we levy less.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to avoid, and the reason that we initially did this 65.09%, was that we didn't want to arbitrarily just pull a number out of the sky and say this is what it needs to be, because that's how we've gotten ourselves in trouble in the past. And that's why we didn't do the maintenance that needed to be done and purchase the things that needed to be done so we could prolong the life of the current equipment we have. And so I'm hoping that our department heads can, be very thoughtful in those decisions as to what is needed and wanted, or wish list, right? And maybe we start to say, we'd like to see what your needed and wanted are. And then maybe we cut out the wish and see what that is. But I think that's a better way of managing that than just arbitrarily hoping that they can fit within some number. And I think that's where we're relying on them to be the ones that really know what those things are, and then we can have those conversations.
And that's exactly what we've been doing.
Yeah.
So we'll have good discussion, and when we go through the budget again, all these topics can come up and we can narrow it down and hash it out again.
I just want to make sure, just being conscious of the timeline, because we don't have that many city council meetings going forward.
We can have off Mondays and
I
No,
prefer
we'll-
that. I thought initially we were going to try to avoid that, but.
We will make every effort to get them at the council meetings. I understand now you want essentially The department has said, here's where I was in originally, here's where I am now, here's how much I've reduced, here's what that percentage affects the overall levy, and there is a bundle of things that we have removed.
Yes, I mean, that's the summary of what it, I mean, I don't want to make it as, okay, instead of 10 boxes of toilet paper, we're gonna get 8. I don't care about stuff like that.
I think it's
honestly.
more like, or we're reducing a position, or we're not buying a piece of equipment. I think
Right.
it's larger ticket items that significantly
And
impact
that's
the budget.
exactly what we're doing.
Great.
Exactly.
Wonderful.
just for-
I just don't know if that's been articulated as clearly as possible, and that's what we're trying to make sure that we're doing.
Anything else, Corky?
No, that was more than enough.
Thank you. Darren, anything tonight, please?
Yeah, thank you. I have a few updates. I think it's been a couple council meetings since been up here with budgets and been busy and everything. So in the last 2 weeks, we responded to just over 400 calls for service, which is pretty average for us. I also want to just give the council an update on the school resource position, school resource update. I think most or all of you were aware of in conversations that I had with Corky Reynolds. That is, as of August 1st, Minnesota passed some new regulation regarding what type of force school staff and the SRO, school resource officer, can use. This new regulation was passed under an education bill, and it specifically restricted the use of any physical restraints that would restrict a student's breathing or ability to speak by applying pressure on the torso, neck, face area, or to place a student in a face-down prone position. The new law under the education bill contradicted our current use of force laws that we've been following since the inception of law enforcement, and subjected the school resource officer and the city up to potential civil and criminal litigation. So as a result of the new law change, I think about 38 or 40, right around that number, police agencies in Minnesota suspended their SRO contract and removed the SROs or those SROs from the school. My intention was always to try to keep our SRO in the school. That was supported by Corky Reynolds, the superintendent, and our city attorney. So that sparked several conversations with that same group, Corky, myself, city attorney, and superintendent, on just kind of drafting plans on what it looks like moving forward, whether that was revising our school resource contract, job descriptions, etc. Thankfully, within the last 2 weeks, Minnesota Attorney General issued an update indicating that use of force by a school resource officer would fall under our current use of force statutes like we always have been. When a student creates a situation where there's threat of bodily harm or death to that student or others. So last I heard, most or a lot of these police agencies are starting to put their SROs back in the school. And our hope is that on the next legislative session in February, hopefully they'll revise that education bill to reflect more on the Attorney General's opinion. So that's a really, really short version. We've been in the school the entire time. We haven't removed our SRO. Things have been going well. We were proactive and got ahead of it. We sent our school resource officer to some training prior to him actually going to the school. So, and it's continuing that way and it's working well. So. Next week, we'll be installing some new in-car cameras in all of our patrol squads, which is a total of 5. Excuse me, I got a really dry throat here all of a sudden. Late last year, we purchased new in-car cameras from Axon. Axon is the same company that we have our body cameras through. Again, we ordered them last year. There was about a 10-month turnaround time or approximate time for delivery and install. So again, it will work in tandem with our body-worn cameras on the same records management platform. They'll actually be coming to the police department next week. So again, we're looking forward to this new system. Our current system is about 10 years old. It's out of support and in desperate need of replacement. So we're looking forward to that. Last Friday, we attended, myself and several officers attended Cops with Coffee at UMC. It was hosted by the University Police Department out of Minneapolis. It was a nice opportunity for local law enforcement to eat with UMC staff and students. We appreciate that opportunity. We're currently working on our next outreach program, which is our Halloween event. This will be our 36th year hosting a Halloween event. Like years past, we're partnering with the Crookston High School Leo Club. We'll be hosting a Halloween drive-through food drive again this year. You know, we actually started that during COVID. Linda Morgan, who runs the Leo Club, we used to do, if you remember, at the Armory, more of an in-person spook house and had some games and gave away candy. And during COVID, just to try to keep something, you know, alive and revitalizing the community, we started this drive-through event, and actually has turned out to be a really big success. We give away the same amount of candy. We raise about the same amount of food. It takes about a third of the staff or less, preparation and cost. So we've really kind of, I think it's turning into our staple event for our Halloween event. That will be on Halloween night from 5 to 7 on the main parking lot of the Crookston High School or west parking lot. The event's free. Each trick-or-treater, as you pull in, will give you a Halloween bag filled with candy and age-appropriate safety materials. In return, we just ask, if possible, not if you can't, that's fine, but in return for a donation of a non-perishable food item. And each year, we typically raise about 1,500 pounds of food that we donate to the Care and Share food shelf. So it's a really good community event. Recently, within the last month, upon request, the Crookston Police Department hosted a safety awareness for Riverview Health. The training consisted of both discussions and practical learning exercises. It was a great success and received well by Riverview. We have pretty much completed all our in-house mandatory training. And again, like Corky said, it's been just absolutely busy. Myself or others have attended meetings at the high school, Riverview Health, Scruffy Tails, Grand Forks Police Department, Opioid Council Advisory Board, Oak Court, and Tri-County Community Corrections. So, in a quick nutshell about the last month or so. Any other questions or anything else? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Shane?
Not near as busy as that guy. This week is Fire Prevention Week, so guys are getting out, they're getting into the schools. I think there's some ads that are running on the radio, just kind of showcasing some of that. But I know, like last week, we had the kindergarten kids from Our Saviors and Cathedral. They make their annual visit down, so station tour, they get to go watch the guys get dressed, and we practice 2 ways out of our bedroom. So we set that up in the fire station. The kids have a lot of fun with that. But then with the rest of the schools and the rest of the grades, we go and we visit them. So Brian Hansen does a great job getting all that stuff scheduled, making sure that the handouts are there. If anybody's got kids, you're gonna end up with the smoke detector and carbon monoxide surveys. Please fill them out and with your kids and bring them back to the station or bring them back to the school so we can get them back to the station. That's just one thing that Brian had come up with a couple of years ago, and it's a great idea. And we've had parents that have told us going, wow, did not realize that our detectors in this battery batteries in this detector were dead. Well, something this simple is able to check, go around with your kids, do it. It's worked out fantastic. The open house then is gonna be on Saturday from 10 to 1. We've got a couple of changes that are gonna happen. We'll get to one of them here in a bit, but a couple guys revamped a couple different things. So it's not gonna be the same old. We're gonna try and change it up a little bit this year. Good news, we've got a firefighter that we interviewed and offered the job to. Will be starting in November. His name is Ethan Falcon. He also comes from the Mankato area with some experience, so we're looking forward to having him start. Like I said, with the open house, there might be a couple changes. One of them, our ladder truck went through a non-destructive test. It's a 5-year test that has to be done to be able to be certified. Unfortunately, it did not pass, and there are some things that were wrong with it, so we have that sent down to Lionel Lakes at this time, and that is being looked into, and hopefully the problems will be corrected. We'll get that truck back. Kind of a race against time if it gets here by Saturday or not, so we might not have the ladder truck for the open house, which I know some of the kids are going to be bummed at because they don't get to go up in the bucket, but hopefully the other things will keep them entertained. The DNR has actually came and reclaimed their jet boat that we have had at the station for a couple decades, I suppose. But long story short, I had contact and talked to him on the state level. And what that was they were going through statewide inventory and looking and seeing with other conservation officers how many apparatus they had per conservation officer, and just looking at the dates of the equipment that they're using. And with this being a relatively old boat, which the manufacturer of the boat is no longer in business, and the engine that's in it is no longer made by the company that's making the motors, that turned into a liability for them. So they reclaimed that. With that, I have talked to him about trying to see if we can get something as a replacement up in this area, just with the river and its importance. But that's also led to meetings with Polk County. They have jurisdiction on the river, but at the same point in time, they do have the watercraft to utilize. So we were trying to come up with a best response for the city of Crookston at this point in time. So we'll be having further meetings on that, and I'll keep you updated. Met with UMC. They're going to have a bonfire for homecoming. It's a little different. The student life is actually taking it over. So we just went out and did a site visit today. We got that taken care of. Working with Abby. Looks like we'll have all that lined up. We'll have firefighters on standby at the location and kind of being able to run that for them. So that should work out really good. And then last thing is we're still actively just looking into some grants and stuff that have started to pop up again for next year. So we're going to be looking at filling out some paperwork and seeing what kind of protocols and stuff we have for that. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Shane. Jake?
Nothing, right?
Thank you. Brandon?
I don't have much today. The water guys have been flushing hydrant dead ends. I think they're going to be done by the end of the week. So if residents notice a short spurt of low pressure, that's most likely what's going on. The wastewater department's doing their annual cleaning. It's kind of slow because he's by himself. There's usually 2 wastewater guys, and we're helping him out as much as we can, but I think he's about half done. And one of the street department employees will be transferring to the wastewater here within the next week or 2, so the utility will be back at full staff here for the first time in probably over a year. And Chuck and Dave hired a couple of guys that are starting the 23rd, I believe, so you're at full staff again too, right? I believe. Close. So as close as we've been in a long time, but that's all I have today.
Thanks, Brandon. Carrie, anything?
Yeah, we had quite a few things going on. I wanted to give an update on the storefront revitalization program that some of you were asking about. 25 applications have been provided to local business owners. We've received 8 applications back. Some of them are still doing research and getting quotes on the projects that they want to do. Our department and appointed design committee, they approved 7 of those applications. The remaining application is incomplete, being forwarded on. 3 businesses have been awarded funding. The remaining 4 are still in the process of spending their money, but we're excited about that. So we still have money open for storefront revitalization that can go for doors, windows, signage, paint, sidewalk repair, landscaping, anything that's going to make your business look better and more, just more attractive to be used. And that was done in conjunction with my department over at the EDA, and then also the city put that in. I think we started originally with $108,000 on that, and we still have $92,000 remaining. So people should know that it's still out there. It used to be, this replaced the B3 grant. So a lot of people have asked about that. So that's what this is. So we're excited about that. We've had a few more inquiries, so we'll keep moving on that. We're working with the University of Minnesota Extension with Ronnie Bhattacharya and Jody, I can't pronounce her last name, I forget it, but on doing a Making It Home project. We probably will start that in the beginning of the year. And that's kind of based on the Ben Winchester brain gain study. It talks about why are people moving back to rural Minnesota. Ages 24 to 36 are moving back here to raise, 28, I think, to 40-something, to raise families and that type. So we'll be doing circle studies, talking about what is the best way to market Crookston, and that'll be happening within our communities, and that'll happen right around the same time as we're doing our comprehensive plan update and that type of thing. Making it home will be a segue into the marketing strategies for next year when we start. So that's our way of getting input from the community, so I'm excited to work with that. We have not heard back yet on that $500,000 bathhouse grant request, have we, Jake? Not yet. So we're waiting on that $500,000 grant request we have in for legacy funds. We're waiting to hear on the $10,000 emergency grant. Right now, there's some other grants coming up. We met with Tim from the Northwest Regional Development today. There's an AT grant, which is something we applied for last year. We got denied, but I think that that's coming up. So, Jake, are you talking with Tim on that, I believe? We'll be talking. And then there's another one, a TAP, which is a federal one. It's going to be 100% funding available for multi-use trails. I'll be going to a seminar in McIntosh on that. They just kind of slammed that down. We only have a couple weeks to prepare for it, go figure. But that's how it is when you're working with grants with all the different government entities. And we appreciate their money, so we'll just go get that. So I have that. Other projects we've been working on. We've had some interest in a developer working on a project on Memorial, working with Diocese Project. They've asked us for tentative, saying if we come and develop your 20 acres, we want to know that the city would like to partner with us, and so they have to go talk to their uppers. They've asked for support, not in any dollar amount. It would be comfortable because we haven't had any Ways and Means meetings on it. But if I could, I would like to at least send them a letter from my department saying, we're excited, housing is one of the initiatives for Crookston, and we would be excited to have meetings with you and to hear what you would like from us and what we can do to partner, if you guys are okay with that. With an entity unnamed.
Yes.
And then I had one project that we have talked about a little bit today, back and forth with people in emails that I passed out that we were going to pass on regarding expansion over at the industrial park. So that was something that's gone back and forth between Corky and myself, between different people and myself. And I guess I would take questions on that project if you have it, because I know a couple of you have called, reached out to me.
Can you just kind of give an overall summary real quick?
Yeah, real quick on that. That's the normal US EDA grant that I put out there for the disaster funding. We were declared a disaster area in 2021. When I did my budget presentation, we talked, that was on our timeline to apply for. That came down the pipeline. It's up to $10 million. We've been working with, we wouldn't apply for $10 million because you'd have to have a rock star project to do that. But half of it would be good. We aren't sure on all the projects, but we do have a pretty good presentation. We worked with DEED. We worked with Northwest Regional Development Commission. We've worked with the US EDA. We've worked with the railroads. And we've been meeting over the last month, but we came to a meeting last week where we were able to knock the project out and say, this is something we feel comfortable with looking at. So I did put that together in a memo if you guys would like to look at it and have questions on it.
Can you email that to us?
I can do that, yep. Be happy to do that. But there's a time crunch on it.
What's the timeline?
Of course, it's the US EDA. So the time crunch on this is that we'd like to put out the request for proposals for engineers on the project. That we can do with no money expended, just to begin to get them going on the project. And then I would like to meet with their Ways and Means to discuss the project and to get your feedback on it. We do not have to advertise a request for proposal for engineers. That doesn't have to go into the newspaper. We do have to advertise, post, but we have ways of getting that information out. So I'd like you to look at the project, consider the project. It would include road, infrastructure, a railroad spur. These are things that were suggested by different entities to make us competitive as a place where DEED would want to put somebody for site selection. I spoke with the BNS Railroad, their economic development. If they have a site ready, something that has a railroad spur publicly, then they know that they can bring something in. So they're just trying to help ways. United States, or the US EDA was out and they toured the AIC. They were here for the grand opening of our Ag Innovation Campus. They were excited about it. DEED has been excited about it. They have a new boss, Catalina. She came in and we had a meeting. I think Dale and some of you were there, Corky. And she is excited about Crookston and what's happening in Crookston. And I think we have a great city and we should be excited about what's happening. But that would be expanding our infrastructure in our park. And we have a couple of businesses that have contacted me now, and they would like to look at the industrial park to move their businesses in there. They'll have to go through planning and zoning, so that's just getting started with them. But
I think if that's something, I mean, you mentioned there's other businesses, I think knowing, not exact, but like having an idea of who actually would be interested in coming would be important to see and like know
Yeah.
what revenue it can actually bring back into the city.
Well, your tax base would come in with any business, so I guess
Right,
that,
and
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if we know that there are businesses that are saying like, and which businesses those are that we can look into.
Well, and can that be
Interesting to see.
disclosed at this point? I think a lot of times it can't be until, like, contracts are signed for various reasons.
Yep.
I guess.
But,
what you're-
but
what
even
you're-
if there was no businesses in there, after the Ag Innovation grand opening, there's a lot of spin-off businesses that will come out of that Ag Innovation campus. And that's where the interest is starting to come and why people are contacting us, is because they're seeing that after that grand opening, they're now saying, hey, Crookston is here, here's what we have. And Deed is still willing to continue to invest over there. They gave us $500,000 for the AIC road, you know, and I think the state put, what, $5 million into the campus? And they also put $5 million into the North Star Lime at the south end of that campus. So they're really starting to develop and to invest in that. So it's an opportunity. And this is a one-time fund. It's not something that will come around again next year. And I would like you to at least consider it. And if you choose not to do that, that's fine. But I think we should at least look at it as a.
So what you're needing from us right now is just, is it as part of the grant, you just need to, the council's agreed that they're willing to go out for an RFP?
Yeah, tonight, if I'd ask you for an RFP, and then I'd ask you to look at the project, and then to consider the project, and then if you would like me to move forward with that, then we would move forward. And we don't have to, the RFP, request for proposals, we don't have to accept any proposals. At the bottom, we would state, you know, all proposals may be declined based on how the project comes out.
But wait, are you just saying, I'm just trying to understand the timeline,
So
what you need
I
from
have
us in
actually a
order for this to go
timeline.
forward?
October 9th, I just would like your approval to put out a request for proposals. October 20th, we'd be putting up proposals. Ideally, we would open our proposals on October 20th. We would award on 2024 if you guys approve them. We'd have to meet after that so you could all consider what we think would be the best proposals. November 24th, we'd be looking at the a deadline for the preliminary and engineering report and also for the environmental report. On November 27th or 30th, they want to review them at Deed, at the EDA. They all want to look at that before we submit it finally to the US EDA. And then December 1, we have to put it in. It's a competitive grant. We may not get it. If we don't get it, then we would be on the hook for the engineering fees up front that we did. And that we estimate it could be $50,000 to $75,000. But if we get it, then that would be wrapped into the grant itself. But if we have the PER and the environmental report, we can still use that for the industrial park moving forward with any projects that would come up.
And is this a matching grant, or is it?
Yes, it is. Yep. Okay. The matching grant, I'm going to probably hand this out to you. The matching grant, we're going to ask for 2.5 from the USCJ for the grant. There's another 500 available through the TED, which is a road grant from Deed. MnDOT has another 500 we're going to ask for the railroad portion of it. There's no guarantee for them, but the fact that they've already been investing with us, they want us to continue to invest and expand that park, tells us that they're likely partners in that with us. So if we get that, the city would still be looking for a match for $1.5 million, which we would talk to with elders for bonding capacity, and that would be, again, for your consideration before we would move forward with that.
Who owns the railroad?
The city of Crookston would own the railroad, and then we would contract with
So you'd
somebody.
have to contract out
Yeah.
and own the railroad.
The railroad yard, yes. I'm going to hand out this memo. You guys can, if you want, just pass it around. And that kind of should answer, for your consideration, any questions that you would have.
So, okay, when do you need an answer from us by?
Well, I'd like your permission to at least put together the request for proposals. That'll take me a couple days. We're just finishing up some of the drawings on that. And the other thing with this, we've been partnering with these different acronyms of people, the DEED, the USDDA. These folks are working with us, and they've been putting a lot into this project, so I don't want to dismiss it out of hand, because those are strong partnerships we want going forward. So even if we don't do it, I would like to know that we at least considered it as a city.
So do you need just a consensus? What are you looking for?
Yeah, just consensus that I can put out a request for proposals on this project. I just finished putting that together and would hope to get it out here by Wednesday or Thursday, or if you want me to wait a little bit longer.
I would be in favor of you moving forward. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, if there's no,
No money involved.
right at this point, and then I think as we get more information, then we can actually have that conversation, but if it's just the prelim on that, I'm okay with that.
And the member, the USEDA, you know, Darren Fleener from our region, he represents them. He's happy to talk with council on a via Zoom. Deed is ready. They would love to talk with us on that, as would the Northwest Regional Development. People who've been involved with it are happy to answer questions.
So the consensus of the council is to move forward with a engineer proposal or RFP?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. By all means.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
okay. Greg, anything?
Well, Council, real briefly, these 10 duplexes that are up on Meadowland Prairie Rose that are along Ikoff Avenue, they're pretty much done. I basically met with the contractor and went through them. Pretty much there's only a few items left to be taken care of, but if you've noticed and driven by, they're much better appearance and siding, windows, new furnaces, water heaters, everything's a lot snappier and a lot better looking. So it's very well done. I attended a Minnesota building officials meeting last Friday. That went well and looked at exhaust and venting requirements for water heaters, boilers, furnaces, that sort of thing. So good information. No planning commission on the 17th of October, next Tuesday. I was hoping to have one, but we may look at getting a special one, but still waiting to hear from one participant that Carrie was talking about, so we'll wait on that. A lot of information requesting zoning regarding these clients that Carrie's also mentioned. I don't want to get into detail, but just setbacks, ordinances, any questions regarding zoning, what can be used and where, so just so you're aware of it. And just the last one is congratulations to Opticare for opening their new facility, new building. That we gave them that certificate of occupancy a week ago Thursday prior to their opening, so it was well done. It's good to see that building now being fun, being open, so thank you.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Chuck, anything?
Have a brief update. Ongoing, we're following up with residents on trees posing a safety concern and diseased trees. We're trying to remove those as fast as possible. The team is also prepping for winter, patching around manholes and water shutoffs. I've been told little more than half the city is completed. Some new items. We received our new street sweeper. The whole crew received training on operating and proper maintenance of it. And then, as you know, everyone should be aware, fall cleanup has started today. We have 4 different teams attacking the piles. And as a reminder, yard waste and branch collection starts the week of October 23rd. As for myself, I've been going out and meeting with residents, listening to their issues and concerns that they have, and just taking note. And then, yeah, that kind of goes hand in hand with myself brushing up on city policies. So before I can really answer anything, just collect what I can. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Anything from Witseth?
Update on the projects. Houston Avenue water main replacement's been completed. Line's back in service now. Alexander, the work's pretty much done. We just got to get the mailboxes reinstalled. That should be done later this week after the locates are done. And the sodding work. So I think get things wrapped up there. So just need a little drier weather. It was nice to get the rain, but we need a little drier weather now. So
I saw a lot of people walking on the sidewalk today when I was driving by. So.
yep, I think they're gonna like it.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
Start with Morgan tonight, anything?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Christie?
None at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you. Henry?
Nothing for me, Your Honor.
Thank you. Clayton?
Last Tuesday, I attended the leadership, Crookston Leadership Group and spoke, and that was very interesting and asked a lot of questions. And then also I'd like to comment that the sidewalks at the library are looking good, and it looks like it's gonna not be a problem anymore with ice in the lower areas, so. Nothing else, Your Honor?
Thank you. Don?
Yes, I just have one thing. The Crookston Chamber is in the reorganization stage, and more information will be coming forward in the near future, so that's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you. Elaine?
I was just kind of curious on where we're at with the cannabis, municipal cannabis thing, and if there's any updates on that, or,
They are both at the city attorney's office for review and drafting. I
Was it-
don't know what stage they're at.
okay. So it's being worked on to,
Yes.
okay, that's all I had.
Can you clarify, can you say that again? For the municipal part, where are we with that? Is
At
that,
the city attorney's office.
I know we have the policy, but that's also, they're also looking at the municipal.
They absolutely are, yes.
Okay. I just talked to Tan earlier, that wasn't the clarification I got, so I just wanted to make sure.
I think he was kind of working hand in hand with both of them, I understand.
Well, I clarified with him, but we can get into that later.
Right. I think too, you had Tanner mentioned he was close to with liquor ordinance
Alcohol.
too. So.
Yep.
Moving slowly but surely with it. Thank you. Tim?
Yes, I attended the Oak Court Community meeting last week, and things are really going well. They have over 90% occupancy and maybe even 100% today. But the place looks really great, and they really are starting to form a great, healthy community there. That's it.
Thank you. I got one item here. I guess I'm asking council. I guess I'd like to get feedback regarding housing, infrastructure, daycare. Would you like to do it on an off Monday, or would you like to do it after part of council night?
As far as what?
Just, it was brought up in the strategy sessions, and Gary would be invited, and just to see where we want to go with it.
Listen,
Providing
it's the
direction.
exact same thing, the last 5 times we talked about it, where we want to go with it.
But
I mean-
in the Washington school, I want to put that in there.
Yeah.
So maybe just providing some direction on some initiatives that are in process, is what you're asking for?
Pretty much.
Okay.
So, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sorry to be so,
Oh, I get it.
but I mean,
we've
it's
been
like.
kicking the same can down
when
the road, but.
we talk about it, I mean, so, yeah, I mean, I think the Washington School, if we can get more daycare in there, that's what I think that's.
Well, I think, yeah, and and just talking briefly with Carrie, she can talk more in depth on it, but I mean, she's got some great ideas for more of that building, and, I guess, we eventually gotta pony up some money to that building.
Right.
She's got ideas for the east side of that property, so I think it's a discussion to be had.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel good about that. I think Delane completely understand where you're coming from. I think everything's been so hypothetical for so long, and like there's been no movement. But I think that we actually, from my understanding, have a lot more like tangible things that'll be
Please,
coming
Carrie.
down. Yeah.
We have more, I've been here a year now. Like when I met with you guys the first time, I think I'd been here just for a few months. Corky and Dale and I met with different people in the council. We have actual projects that we're working on right now, and I'd like to know the heart for investing in housing or in economic development or in infrastructure or expanding, and give you ideas of what's happening with my department, maybe a little bit more in depth than what we have at a quick council report. So that, it's like a legitimate,
Yeah.
you know, in conjunction with what you guys are doing, and also with the, with my board out at Economic Development, because we have a fantastic board out there, and I just can't say enough about the team that I have out there, but I do miss you, Delane. Give me a hard time.
So my question is, did you want to do it on and off Monday, or do you want to follow council?
I would prefer to follow council.
I like to follow council.
Okay,
I would too, yeah.
we'll make that happen, thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
just a quick report from IT, if I may.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Chad.
Just,
You're so quiet back
no,
there.
I'm usually
Just
quiet
forget
back here. I hide my corner. Just briefly, IT is very proud. We were able to bring our new VPN system online, so all of our city squad cars now working together with our counterparts over at Polk County. They're on the new system. They're able to access the state and our records management system. So that was a big effort, and it's operational. That's all I had, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm gonna blame that on Ashley because she didn't update my cheat sheets.
No worries.
The S drive was down, so.
It's back up. It's back up now. Also happy to report.
Just a reminder, there will be no Ways and Means meeting tonight. Thank you for everybody that attended tonight. Good discussion. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Who's that guy?